friends and listeners. Welcome to another edition of Service Over Self. I'm your co-host, Henry Saxon.
And I'm Brent Carmichael. You can call me Coach.
Welcome to the podcast. And today we have an exciting topic to discuss, serving on nonprofit boards and how do we get folks that are qualified and are interested and are passionate about being in leadership roles for organizations that improve the quality of life in our local communities. So I'm anxious to talk about the roles and responsibilities, and Brent, certainly want to get your impressions because I know you got some experience at that. So let's get started. Brent, you want to just talk about in general what some of the nonprofit experiences you might have had as serving as a board member?
Well, as we always do, we always begin by thanking our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who is the head of both of our lives, and we thank him every day on a daily basis. So with that, yes, I think this is a great topic, Sax. As we both know that we both have served on boards, and been very active. My first thing to our listeners would say, if you are considering, being on a board, looking at a board, doing some due diligence on what boards you may want to be on, make sure it's something that you're passionate about. Make sure that it's something that you want to make a positive impact on, because then you're going to give it your all.
Yes, that's true. And let me pan out for our listeners a little bit to give you a sense of what the nonprofit universe is all about. So in this country, there's about, give or take, 1.5 million nonprofit organizations, all of them designed and set up to be tax exempt by the IRS, as many of you know. And it has a board of directors to guide the organization. And the board of directors is a legal entity because it has a responsibility of doing some things to protect the public interest. The fiduciary responsibilities, for example, the governance responsibilities, for example, and the stewardship responsibilities, for example. So there's some legal things that these boards are required to do. And the reason that is simply because when a nonprofit is up and running, and even the established ones, it extracts resources out of the community, and it's the board's responsibility to make sure that those resources are not only acquired properly, but utilized and spent properly. So that's sort of the backstory. Mm-hmm. And let's talk about why it's a terrific opportunity for those of you listening to get involved with potentially being a board member.
Yeah, I would probably say one of the things that I've always appreciated, Sax, about being on the board was one, the passion and being able to be a part of it, but being with like-minded people. Right. Being with people that you have and have the same ideas and, drive that you may have, but bring a lot to the table that you may not have heard of or may not have experienced, and being able to put those together into a package and being able to present that to the community.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's important to delineate what board service is and what it isn't. Right. Mm-hmm. And so let's talk about what it isn't. Well, being on a board or aspiring to be on a board, your motivation shouldn't be to build a resume, for example, or to potentially meet clients, or to improve your networking,
or to make some money,
or to earn dollars, or to get connections, or any of those things. If you are looking to get on the board, a board to for one of those reasons, then you totally miss the point of advancing the work and mission of the nonprofit organization that you're involved with. But what it is, on the other side of the same coin, it's an opportunity for you and like Brent said, like-minded others to advance the work of the organization in a number of different ways that we'll talk about here in a second.
Oh my God, it grows your understanding. It makes you more passionate about projects and programs that might benefit people. But it also gives you personal growth and some self-empowerment, because you are, again, like-minded people, but you wanted to be able to bring your experiences to the table and see how you can fit those in. And that's the great thing about being on a board. And Sax, I'm glad you chose this topic, because I think that, in order for us to get the things and get results that we need for the people that need results and solutions, is you got to have a high quality board.
Yeah, you do. And I'll tell you what nonprofits look for in their boards. First of all, they want to have a diverse representation of the community. And they certainly want to have that diverse representation of the community to have a special insight to the mission of the organization. So what you don't want are people who all think the same or who all have experienced life pretty much through the same lens and do not have a sensibility or any cultural understanding of the work of the nonprofit. So a good board really starts with a very diverse group of leaders that can bring diverse perspectives in their service to the organization.
Yeah, and so I do want to kind of clarify some things. Like-minded doesn't mean that you have the same thoughts. Like-mind means that you all have a overall view of being able to be passionate about what you do, but we still want you to bring what you have to the table, because that's what makes it so good, is being able to have those brainstorming sessions, being able to talk to each other and debate. You're not going to agree on everything. So having those debates and bringing statistics or documents that may support what you want to do, opposed to going another route. So, don't think like-minded means that you're going to agree on everything.
That's true. And you do want to have a board is very much like a team. And Brent's right. You do want to have a unified sense of advancing the mission, but also have your own perspective on what can benefit the organization. I want our listeners to understand as well that there are some requirements for serving on a board of directors, and different organizations, depending on their size, depending on their location and the work that they do, will have some unique requirements, but they all fall into generally three buckets, and I'll go through them really quickly. The first bucket is when you join a board of directors, there's an expectation of time that you have to devote to the organization. Time not only for the board meetings, time for if you serve on a subcommittee of the board, which is likely, and time for doing advocacy work in support of the organization, resource generation work, supporting the programs and events of the organization. Your presence is important at all of those areas. The second area is what we call treasure. There should be some investment by you, what we call a what do we call it? A meaningful gift. Meaningful to you now. It's not some peer person, some arbitrary number, but it's important that if you believe in the work of the organization, you should make a meaningful gift. And meaningful means different to different people, right? And then also would love for you to leverage your network in convincing others to give. So that's part of the advocacy. And then the last thing is your talents, like Brent mentioned. There are some skill sets that you will bring to the table that the organization can benefit from. So we want to marry up your skill sets against the needs of that organization you're serving. So those are sort of tickets into the game. You really can't be a useful board member unless you're willing to do all three of those things.
So I'm going to throw something out at our listeners, Saxon, and I want you to be able to share with them with your advisory organization or business that you have. We may have some listeners that want to start their own nonprofit. And so with that, share with them how they should pick a board. What are some qualities, some qualifications that you think that if they want to start their own nonprofit, what are some qualities and qualifications you think that you should look for board members?
That's a good question. But just to put it simply, so if you have, which I'm sure you would, a compelling mission, right? Because the whole reason that you start a nonprofit is because you recognize there's a problem in your community that your work could address and or solve, right? So that's the purpose of the nonprofit, and you getting, registered in your state to create a nonprofit. But once you have recognized that need and the problem that you want to solve, then what you do in terms of your board selection, you are identifying the kind of people that can make an impact in that area. So it could be folks that have some unique expertise in that area. There might be some folks that are sensitive to that line of work or mission focus that have some unique insights that can help you. But all of it is rooted in either a passion or an expertise toward advancing the mission. Okay. You can't put your friends on there. You can't put your sorority and fraternity brothers that have no, respectfully speaking, no value add to the work. You really have to be intentional if you want to start out having a good board.
Good. Okay. I just want to throw that out just in case we had some listeners that have reached that plateau where they want to be able to get out and do that. One of the other things that I wanted to discuss as it relates to boards is how in that nonprofit community, there's just a lot of synergy when you sit down with other nonprofits or other people on other boards that are willing to be partners, because again, we're all, whatever your passion may be, whatever your focus may be with your nonprofit is your nonprofit, but there's still ways that you can help each other and being able to share in those partnerships.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And partnerships and collaborations is where it's at now. Nobody can boil the ocean alone. Right. You just can't do it. So you do need partners and collaborators with you on working on your mission. So it is very important to seek those out and to work among other peer organizations around that work. I do think more on the technical side that you should clarify expectations, though. Mm-hmm. Everybody should have some agreement around what the big idea is, and then clarify who's going to do what when. Mm-hmm. And the boards, what's great about them is they are the batteries that power the organization. That's why you have to have the right complement and skill set and influence of board members.
I'll be completely transparent here. When the very first board I served on, I absolutely had no idea what I was getting involved in. And I'm going from professional basketball to being the assistant director of a Head Start program in Rockford, Illinois, and then being asked to be the board leader. So I went from, to really knowing nothing to learning on the job. And I'll tell you, I had a director that was awesome. I mean, she walked me step by step on how to be a board member. What were the ins and outs, what were the requirements, what were some things that you had as far as, the rules, Robert's Rules of Order and all of that kind of stuff that had to do. But it was for a Head Start program, and we're dealing with Head Start that you're dealing with, those high, low-income areas, or those low-income areas where you have to be on your P's and Q's.
Yeah, I think board service can be a tremendous asset to any leader or someone who is aspiring to be a leader who have some sense of capacity in their lives. I mean, it's not, board service isn't available to everybody, even if you're interested in. You do need to have some level of capacity, but I can't think of a better experience for someone to learn leadership skills, to be in the boardroom as the board deliberates and talk about things to advance the organization. Mm-hmm. Because it's such a diverse group. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to learn from each other, and so that's what's pretty cool about it. But it does start with having some capacity to be in that room.
Knowing that you have served on many, many boards and been a part of meetings with a lot of boards, what is the largest board you've been on, and what's the smallest board that you've been on?
Yeah, as you mentioned, I've managed many boards myself and certainly served on a few others. Probably the largest board you're talking about in terms of memberships
and just numbers,
or managed?
Yes. Of numbers, of how many people were serving on that board.
Oh, okay. Probably a board of 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Board of 25 and a very diverse group. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what was the smallest?
Smallest, 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what were the pros and cons of each, you'd say?
Well, the pros and cons of each is the board size and the board unified capacity. Will that meet the needs of the organization? Mm-hmm. So in other words, okay. if the board was doing all they could and fulfilling all of their duties and doing everything the right way, is it enough still to advance the organization? So those two things got to marry up first. Right. But what generally is having enough work. The smaller boards tend to carry more of the workload.
Yes.
Right. Especially if it's a established organization. Now, mm-hmm. a new startup, the lift isn't as heavy, but right. but the ones that or have a lower head count, especially if it's an established organization, it's because a lot of people are doing a lot of things. Mm-hmm. I'm from the school of many hands make light work. So I love big boards.
Right.
I'm just a big board person. I just think, I'm not a big fan of the 80-20 rule, uh-huh. but recognize its truth. But I'm a big board person because especially if you have the right horsepower.
Mm-hmm. And I think that when you look at the dynamics of larger boards, or the dynamics of smaller boards, or the dynamics of a board that has been around, or an organization that has been around for a long time and has done some really good work. The thing that I liked of one board that I did serve on, it had been around for a long time, and it did a lot of great service in the community. And so I came in with pressure of being able to expand and being able to make sure that I could move the organization further, out forward, not further, but forward. And so that was a test for me that I thought put me in another level when it came to being able to engage and motivate and encourage others to just take a look at the things that I was offering. And so I enjoyed that. One of the boards I sat on, I sat and twiddled my thumbs forever because they just did not want to activate anything that, any ideas that I brought to the table. So, again, when you talk about diverse, again, watch and do your due diligence on what boards you may want to jump on.
Great. Well, speaking of that, let's talk for our listeners to give them a direct line toward how to get involved with a board, right? Let's just so that everybody kind of has an idea of what to do. So I'm gonna start out by giving you the cheat code.
Okay.
All right. So there's a lot of ways, a lot of pathways you can be asked. You can be involved with other groups, and somebody nominates you, all of that stuff. But let me just give you the cheat code first and foremost. First is the pre-check. Now, your pre-check is what I talked about earlier. You do need to have the time. You do need to have the capacity, somewhat of a Rolodex. So this is not a lesser level community group. These are people that can move the needle in their respective communities. So once you feel you have those kinds of things, even if it's on the lower level, there is some capacity you need to bring. So you can so once you feel you can deliver there, then I would write an email, do a little research, but that research should be rooted in what you said earlier, Brent, in a cause that you feel really passionate about.
Yes.
You really need to feel, because that's where it starts. You have to. I call it drinking the Kool-Aid.
Right.
You have to drink the Kool-Aid of the work, of the mission. Then send an email to either the CEO or the executive director of the organization, introducing yourself and stating your intentions. And in most cases, if they're savvy enough, they would have an information meeting with you, a cup of coffee or something like that. And you could do the same with the board chair. You can look that person up on the website and reach out to them. That is the direct line to do it. And then you have an information conversation, and they'll tell you, most nonprofits will tell you exactly where they stand. First of all, they're going to be impressed that you reached out to them, and they'll find a role for you. And I'm not saying that it'll be a guarantee you serving on the board, but they'll find a role for you in the organization if that's what you want, even short of board service. Because sometimes, there are advisory boards and other opportunities like that. So now the other thing that you can do as you kind of broaden your professional development, nonprofits do cherry pick groups like Leadership, in this case Atlanta, or Leadership Georgia, or some of these professional development organizations. Nonprofits cherry pick those folks, and it's a breeding ground really because it's the up and comers and the folks that got capacity. So you got those two dynamics. But if you want to go directly to it, go ahead and reach out personally. But kind of self-qualify yourself though first.
Okay. Well, with my particular situation, I'm going to relate back because again, back in the day, how I jumped on some boards. I love your approach and I love that, but I was at an event and I seen the event that they were doing. I went straight to the CEO and I said, I want to be on your board. It's just that up close and personal thing.
Yeah.
I'm that kind of guy that I almost want to say that I want to be face to face with you so you can see the energy that I'm to bring, the passion, all of that. So you see me up close and personal. So I like that style. But in today's world, when you don't have access like that, like you did back in the day, I'm 100% behind what you just said to do.
Yeah.
Because it definitely does, put you in a different bag than anybody else because you took the time out to make that introduction.
Well, just using your same example, it's if you can advocate for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
like you did in the example you just shared, it's a great sign, because if I'm that executive director and I'm saying if this guy can advocate for himself, he can certainly advocate like that for our mission,
Right.
to donors, to stakeholders,
Right.
community leaders. It's that same energy. It's that
Yes.
same leadership quality.
Yes.
So that's really what it is. And but folks, we need good board members in these communities, and please think about your future opportunity to maybe serve on the board if that's your choosing. Brent, what do you think about the meeting today?
Hey, service over self, and get involved again on boards. SAC's a great topic. I'm glad we had a chance to share with our listeners.
Well, it was a wonderful topic. To your point, it's an important area of service in our communities. Hey, folks, great having you with us. Great show. Thanks for joining us. Take care. Till next time.
Peace.